Tony Hines, SGA president. I know you've not always been the SGA president. You've been Tony Hines most of your life. So, what was the road like to get here to be the SGA president?
Well, I could approach that from several different directions, several different point of views. In all, I've had some great successes in my life, and I've had some tremendous failures. But the road here is one that I capsulized in calling myself Tony Hines. At the end of the day, that's all I can be.
Hmm.
Uh, if you want to reiterate it, you want me to go into detail, I can.
Yeah, one thing that stands out to me, just knowing you personally, I think it was a cabinet meeting maybe, or one of the little sessions that we had here at the school, and you were talking to people, and you said, you see this guy up here maybe in this suit or in this tie, but when we leave here today, we're gonna go right back to the projects where I stay, and you kind of allowed people to see that even though you could dress up, you were just a normal person, and that you were, a human being just like anybody else. So I want you to speak to that, the professional side of being a student, and then the SGA president, but also to the real person that you really are, a person who's gone through struggles, through ups and downs to get to where you're at now.
When I was growing up, people, it was one of my pet peeves. I used to do a lot of things. I had to learn to be on the proverbial right side of the tracks, and it's been a hard fight. When I was growing up, again, people that had authority in my life wore ties, and it may sound simple, but the judges, the preachers, the lawyers, and even doctors, anybody that had a tie on were there to punish me. Even when we stayed in the projects in Willow Homes, the people that ran that, a gentleman in there ran that, and would always come down into our house telling us we had to do this, we had to do that. That gentleman wore a tie, so I grew up not liking the symbol of wearing a tie. And something as simple as that, you may think that people do every day, but that's why anybody that wore a tie, I revolted against them. I rebelled against them because I didn't understand. Those were the people that always were there interfering in my life, always telling me what to do. Even the principal of my school wore a tie. So with that being said, when I working on my jobs, various jobs that I had, the supervisors wore ties. So they were always on me about doing this, about doing that. Not that I was dumb or ignorant, but because I just did not know what to do. I had to be taught. And I distinguished myself by becoming a hard worker. I never became SGA president because I was the smartest one at Chattanooga State. I never became SGA president because I know how to do something a little bit better than somebody else. I became SGA president because there was a need and no one was stepping up to the plate. I'm not perfect. I don't go out there and pretend to be, because if I let the title of SGA president dominate me, then I'm not going to be SGA president for the rest of my life. In the real sense of the matter is, every day when I leave Chattanooga State, I go right back to the west side. And over there, you can walk around. I stay in a part where there's an alleyway. And during that alleyway, the people that walk down the street or walk through that alleyway, drunks, dope dealers, winos, people on crack, they don't care whether or not I'm SGA president.
Right.
So when I come in here with regular street clothes on, because the majority of the students here, the 67,000 students that are here, they don't come in here wearing ties every day.
Right.
The majority of the students don't know or some don't even care who I am. They just want the end results of what we do. I'd rather make an impact of what SGA stands for than to come in with a suit and tie. Than to go around saying that I'm SGA president. If Tony Hines can be used for anything else, I want him to make a difference in the people's lives.
So would you say that anyone else who is out there, maybe someone else who stays in the West Side, maybe you don't even have to stay in the West Side, any part of the city of Chattanooga, a young person, whatever their race is, would you say that to them that they could be anything that they wanted to be? You know, I know the thing is to maybe be cool, but to think about wearing a suit and tie may not be cool for someone else who may be in the West Side, who might think, man, suit and tie, that's too uptight for me. Do you think that they could break outside of who they are to be someone more professional, or what does that take to change those hats, to wear the different hats?
And I'm glad you used that analogy because that's what it is. It's just like a hat. Once you take one hat off, you can put another one on.
Right.
I know I can't go into a business type of environment and ask for a job busting a sag,
Right.
or dreads or whatever it is, but they want to be that professional look. I mean, 9 to 5, you go in there with a suit and tie.
Mm-hmm.
Now 5 to 11.
Mm-hmm.
You go out, you put your T-shirt on, and you put your jeans on and your chucks,
Mm-hmm.
and then you be yourself. But never lose sight of who you are and what you
Right.
do,
Mm-hmm.
because it's so easy that to lose sight. You forget that.
Mm-hmm.
And once you become unbalanced, you become unstable. Once you become unstable, you run into depression.
Mm-hmm.
When you're depressed, you're sad, you're moping around, you're not yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when you reach out to other people to reel you in, bring yourself back in.
Okay. Two things that I want to say. Someone who might see you wearing that suit and tie, who is maybe from, what we may call, the urban areas of the city, might say, well, I seen Tony, on the streets the other day, he had his, street clothes on, but then when we went to school, he was talking, proper English, speaking, proper English, and he was speaking to people, all over the school, and man, he was acting white. Like, what is this? Like, what is this? Like, Tony, you ain't cool no more, man. You acting white. What is this? What would you say to someone? Because that does happen to us,
Mm-hmm.
We can be out, maybe we're in a professional setting, and we change all of a sudden, and people say, well, you fake. You acting white. What is this? So what is that you can tell them, like, what is that? How do you distinguish between the two? Are you acting white, or what are you doing when you change those two? That hat, when you take off that hat and go into that other setting, what are you doing? Like, are you acting white? What is that? What would you say that is?
Well, to be honest, back in the days when my parents were coming up,
Mm-hmm.
you had no other choice but to be black and strong, and that's the only thing that you knew.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the new generation, you have to multitask,
Mm-hmm.
because in certain situations you're going to be ostracized.
Right.
If I go into a community where it's predominantly white, I have to act accordingly or pretend to do whatever it is I got to do to just fit in.
Right.
If not, you're going to be ostracized. You're going to be put out. If I go to the West Side and all I do is stereotype white things, then I'm going to be put out there.
Right.
It's going to be hard for me. So now you have to multitask. You have to find the line where you have to incorporate yourself into whatever it is that you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And
so you got to know time and place. You have to know
Right.
when to turn on certain things and when to turn certain things
and
off.
that is the key, not only to job success, that's the key to life.
Mm-hmm.
Because it used to be, in some parts, it still is a black and white issue. But the issue is not black and white anymore. It's about rich and poor.
Mm-hmm.
Because even though I keep putting emphasis on the West Side, because that's what I know the projects because that's where I come from.
Right.
And now, where the projects used to be filled with black people,
Mm-hmm.
now it ain't like that anymore.
Hmm.
It's black and white people,
Okay.
and it's about poor trying to get what they got to get. It's not just the middle class, because there is no middle class anymore.
Right.
Or either you're rich and you got it, or you're poor and you don't.
Mm-hmm.
And you're struggling, trying to get a hustle, trying to get what you deserve in life. And if you don't find a way to hustle, the hustle is trying to make your way in life and not losing your identity. Because we have a stereotype. If I go to one job and I'm making a nickel more than you,
Right.
I stop talking to you. I stop talking to you because you're black. If you have a white friend or whatever it is, oh, hey, he's over there with that white friend and he's acting too white.
Mm-hmm.
He think he better than us.
Right. Right.
Move away from that stuff. You got to find out who you are. And once you find that, regardless of what anybody say to you, whether you lose that job, you're still happy because you didn't lose yourself.
Right. So when coming to school, I know that we talked about this aside off of camera, but I want to just speak to when you come in and you're trying to find a major, you have all this pressure from your parents to maybe be a nurse when you want to be an actor, or maybe you know that's not your thing, that what everybody is telling you that you need to do, you don't feel that in your heart. You maybe want to go a different direction in your life, and then your grades start to fall and you kind of go through this little crisis because you're not really who you want to be. Can you speak to maybe that student who is having a hard time right now, maybe in their studies, because they're struggling, to find their identity? They maybe want to go into the media aspect of, school, but they're being pressured to get a job to support themselves because they're the only person back home maybe that's supporting the whole family. What would you say to that student who is struggling to find their identity?
I went through that and I wasted valuable years in my life trying to answer that one particular question until I went to church and I heard a pastor preach about this, and I'm going to say it proverbial what he said to me. If an alien came to Chattanooga and you were in that alien's presence and the alien asked you, what could you please help me? What do I need to do? If the first thought or the first thing that you did for that person, that is your goal in life. If you went up to that person or that person asked you, or that alien asked you, what do I need to do, and you gave that person food, you need to be a chef. If you asked that person where do they need to go, or you took him to go somewhere to food to find some shelter, then you need to be a bus driver. You need to be in transportation. You need to do something in that area, that genre.
Right.
If you went up there and literally pointed out directions of where that person needed to do, or gave that person information that helped benefited that alien, then that's your calling. Because if we so many times. I see these students come in here, and once again, I'm talking about myself too. I see them come in, and yeah, it's okay. I want to do what's popular for right now.
Right.
And right now is what it is. It's just right now. You're not looking at your future.
Right.
And 2 years into it, just like I have, 2 years, 3 years. I've been here 3 years almost. And it's hard to pick up a book sometimes. When I'm at home sleep, sometimes I don't want to come to class.
Right.
But I know that I won't be in Chattanooga State forever.
Right.
I know that I'm not going to be a student forever. So I got to get up and cherish the time that I'm here, because education is something that can't be taken away from you, and it's precious. And it's a gift. Because I could be out there working, sweeping floors, and I'll do what I got to do to support my family and my kids. But I could be over there telling that person, hey, you need to sweep the floor. Not because it's an authority thing, but to help improve that person's life, help the company. Because anywhere you go, there's supervisors. And some supervisors, guess what, don't know how to supervise. They make it hard on you because that's the only way that they know. I'm here to get an education so that I can change that stereotype.